As we're getting started, before we get into the actual Yoga Nidra practice, bring your attention to what it is that you're bringing in. So we can bring our attention to our breath, our body. Are you coming in settled, emotionally regulated? Are you coming in a little bit more anxious? As we're getting started, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the koshas, and then we'll go right into the practice. So notice your whole body, head to toes. And as I'm talking, just notice how you'd like to be positioned. With Yoga Nidra practices especially, it's really great if we cannot move, but we're not ever wanting to hold our body still. We're really letting or allowing our body to be still. So if we're comfortable, then that's a better opportunity for that. And if you're warm enough as well. So if you're thinking that you might get a bit cold, then get a sweater or a shawl or something. The Yoga Nidra practice of working in the 5 koshas, as like all of the Yoga Nidra practices, are meant to bring us to a brainwave state that's similar to a non-REM sleep. As we're doing these, we're continuing to bring our attention deeper. Our attention gets drawn into the past or the future, and then just keep turning your orientation towards the depth, towards the silence. And the other kind of quality that happens in Yoga Nidra, the state of consciousness, Yoga Nidra, is that it's calm, awake, and alert, and completely relaxed. So it's not that kind of stupor of I'm almost asleep, and it's not agitated, or sometimes we just have a lot of energy going on in the mind. It's a really balanced state of calm, awake, alert, and relaxed. So as we're doing the practice, keep bringing your attention to that. The yoga philosophy that this practice comes from relates to the koshas, which are like sheaths or layers. So one way to work with this would be that in the center, we have our own being, and that we have the light of that being. It's kind of radiating out. And then we have these layers or sheaths that kind of surround that light of our own inner divine, our own being. The first one of those layers still has a lot of light coming from our being. And that's the Anandamaya Kosha, the limited bliss, the layer of joy and bliss. The mind, the heart, the body, very still, aware of the self. And then the next layer, you could think about this maybe even as like scarves covering a lamp. The next layer is the intuitive mind, the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And in this layer, the mind is still, alert, awake, and we have access to our intuitive wisdom. And then another layer comes that there's a little bit less light now, and that's the Manomaya Kosha, the lower level of the mind. So we don't have as much access to our wisdom here. And this layer of the mind is the mundane, daily life kinds of things, like remembering to do things. But it's also a lot of the thoughts in this layer of the mind are driven by the nervous system, the primitive brain. Could be where catastrophic thoughts, the hypervigilance. What am I going to do if? So that layer of the mind is a real impediment to going deeper, to accessing our wisdom, the joy, being in connection with ourselves. And then the next layer from that, we're getting more solid, more manifest, is the Pranamaya Kosha, the layer of breath and energy. And then from there, we go to the most solid, our physical body, Annamaya Kosha, the body made of food. So as we're doing practices, we're kind of working from the most solid. We're relaxing our physical body and working with the breath and energy, and working particularly with the lower level of the mind. As we calm those 3 layers, our body relaxes, our breath becomes smooth. We start to be able to observe or witness the thoughts in the mind, but not get so carried away. Then we have the opportunity to start to experience the depth of the higher level of the mind and the layer of bliss. So bring all of your attention in from other times and other places. And become aware of your being. And don't worry too much about thinking about this, whatever your experience is. Become aware of your being, your consciousness. And then as we move through the practice, we're going to move through the layers. And as you do that, and as you're following along with the guidance, you will notice, of course, that sometimes your mind will go off into something else. Just keep bringing it back. Start by noticing your whole body from head to toes. In our mind, our attention is drawn to whatever is painful or tight, usually. So it's helpful to soften. If you're holding your shoulders up around your ears, it feels good to release that. And we'll go through the body with a bit more precision in a minute. So on an overall basis, notice your whole body and let your body relax and be settled in place. If you want to move a bit or stretch, that's always fine too. And then settle back. And notice the whole back of your body, back of your head, your neck, back of your shoulders, and let your shoulders get heavy. So if you're sitting, let them release away from your ears. If you're supported through the back of your body, then really settle back into that support. And notice the back of your arms. Let your arms be at rest. And as you go through your upper and your mid and your lower back, release any tension or tightness through there. And in your upper back, you might even want to move very slightly. Move your shoulder blades towards each other a little bit. Move your shoulders up to your ears a bit. Let them release down. One thing that we do through the back of the neck and shoulders and the upper back is we often brace for trouble. So if we could know that there is no trouble that we need to brace against, let your shoulders relax. And then bring your attention down into the back of your legs, large muscles at the back of your thighs, your calves, your heels, your feet. And let the whole of your back body rest. Let yourself accept the support, whether you're sitting or lying down or laying back. And then take a few deep breaths and let that softness deepen on the exhale. And bring your attention around to the front of your body through your forehead and eyebrows, your eyes. And as you're breathing out, so we're combining the physical and the breath. As you're breathing out, let your forehead soften. And each time that you breathe out, let it soften a little bit more. Keep your attention just in the subtle muscles of the forehead for several breaths. And as you're doing that, let go of any worries, any thoughts. You could bring your eyebrows up on an inhale, let them soften again on an exhale. And bring your attention down into your mouth, your jaw, your sense of speech. And as you're exhaling, let your tongue soften and rest on the floor of your mouth. Soften your vocal cords. And especially if you're sub-vocalizing thoughts, really soften through the throat. Let your vocal cords be still. We're withdrawing our attention from the external world by letting our eyes be closed or gaze soft, relaxing our forehead and our thought stream, our sense of speech and all of that activity through the mouth. And then become aware of your throat and the sides of your neck, down through the shoulders, into your arms, the front of your arms, and the whole of your arms, all the way down to your hands, fingers, and fingertips. And we're resting from our action in the world. We're withdrawing into this practice. And one of the messages that we're giving our nervous system is that it's okay to rest. Our arms don't need to be in action right now. We don't need to be protecting ourselves. It's okay to rest. And bring your attention to the large muscles in the chest that operate the arms. And notice from your collarbones down through the whole of your chest, in front of the heart center, down through the lower ribs. And as you're breathing out, let all of that soften. Notice your stomach area, just under the rib cage, the navel center, the lower belly. And notice that your body is moving with your breath. And then bring your attention down to the large muscles at the front of your thighs, down through your shins and your feet, your toes, the soles of your feet. And notice if it's okay for your legs to be at rest. If you need to stretch or move or something, that's fine. And then let your legs come back to stillness. Bring your attention to your stomach area, navel center, and the lower belly in particular. And let's notice the breath for a bit. Notice the rhythm. Ideally, there's a smooth continuity to the breath. As we're breathing out, the belly softens. And then we don't hold the breath. We let the breath move right into the inhalation. As soon as you're finished your inhalation, let go of the breath. Let your body move into the exhale. Let's anchor our attention to that for a moment. Let your whole body be in awareness as you breathe. And then as we're working with the overall experience, we're working with softening and relaxing the body. So you might get pulled back into a restlessness or a fatigue or pain in your body. It's natural for our attention to go there. And see if you can maintain at the same time the witnessing. We're aware of what it is that's happening in our system. And as we become aware of that, we naturally soften, We stop holding our breath, the breath gets smoother. And as we're aware of our body and our breath, we're also aware of the thoughts that are coming and going in the mind. If your higher level of the mind was kind of situated at the back of your head, and you were watching the activity in the lower level of your mind, the Manomaya Kosha, let's do that for a moment. And sometimes there's something quite urgent coming through the lower level of the mind, and we could make a mental note to work with that later. Sometimes we have to kind of pause the practice if something's really urgent. But very often it's not anything new or surprising, it's that pattern in the mind. Bring yourself back more into the observation of the pattern, the observation of the thoughts. Thoughts generally appear behind the forehead in the area of the brain. And sometimes we're in a train of thought. And then as we're observing that, we also notice that there are times when we're not thinking. Really focus in on the gaps between thoughts. A little bit of awareness in the body and the breath. With our higher level of the mind, we're observing the thought stream. If we notice that we're caught in a train of thought, bring your attention back with kindness. You could have a bit of awareness of your physical body, of the smooth ease in the breath, and that we're watching thought. And in particular, we're bringing our attention into the stillness between thoughts and the space itself, the stillness in the space where thoughts might be coming and going. Keep focusing your attention towards the stillness. Let your mind be awake and alert, calm. We're just watching, aware of our body, our breath, our thoughts. And bring your attention as well to your being. And notice some things will distract you. Come back into relaxing your body, your breath, noticing thoughts in the mind. And then come back into the awareness of self, of being. come back into that awareness now of the whole of your experience, your body, your breath, thoughts in your mind, the stillness in your mind, your awareness of your experience. And as you're still maintaining awareness of that, open your eyes.